Big B Show, bigbizshow.com. How you going? I'm Troy Hazard, filling in for Sally, who stepped out for an hour on walkabout. Not sure where he's gone, and you probably shouldn't ask those questions because it might just frighten you. Business Talk Radio Network, CBS Talk Radio Network, the Business Television Network. How you going? We're just cruising along here, and I'm going to check the numbers again, even though I've got no idea what I'm doing, just to keep him happy, because he said, just keep checking the numbers. Dow Jones up 108, NASDAQ up 30, S&P 500 up 13, and gold down 2 points. Give me some charts, Curtis. Make it look good. Just make me feel like I know what I'm doing here, you know? No, okay, it doesn't matter. Don't forget it. It's not going to help me at all. It's just not going to help. So, in changing times, we've got to really try and find different ways to do business. And my next guest is someone who has actually done that. She is the Radical Entrepreneur of the Year. Terry Hawkins is an author, is a professional speaker, an entrepreneur of 20 years, a mother, and now very radical, apparently. Now, if I didn't know Terry, I would have thought the Radical Entrepreneur of the Year would come with like face tattoos, extreme sports, you know, things like that, but it's clearly not. And for our radio audience, if you'd like to see what Terry actually looks like and prove that she's not radical, terryhawkins.com is a website. Terry, thanks for dropping in, mate.
Thank you, Troy. Now, I can show you my tats if you want. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Okay. That's probably an overshare. Mate, now, I just want to clarify again, Terry is not a New Zealander. She is, in fact, another Australian. Sally keeps continuing to get that wrong, and that's quite offensive to an Australian. It's like saying you're a Canadian when you're an American. Tell us about the Radical Entrepreneur of the Year. What was that all about? What's the preface behind it?
Well, it was actually, I was thinking about whether to use my New Zealand accent or not, so I could fit in. You can call me Terry.
There you go.
The Radical Entrepreneur Award was with a Get Radical conference, and Doreen Rainey ran this conference for women. Mm-hmm. And it basically was women who did radical things in their businesses. And so my staff actually nominated me. They obviously think that I'm pretty radical. So that's Doreen there, and it's amazing woman to actually bring hundreds and hundreds of women together over this 3-day weekend. Had amazing speakers, and I happen to be one of the nominees.
So define radical for me, because you hear the word radical, it's pretty radical. So is this radical way to approach business, radical way to approach growth, or approach changing times? What was the main focus?
My understanding of the criteria was actually just going off the beaten path, and that to be radical, and I think especially these days in business, you have to be radical. You have to do something different away from what other people are doing. And I think it was to celebrate not just in business, but also what you did as a business person or an entrepreneur in the community, how you helped serve, maybe some philanthropic things that you did. Yeah. So I was actually, so amazed that I won, because you don't think you're radical. I think when you're in business, you do things to survive and you do things to grow, and you don't call it radical.
It's just the normal course of business, because you've got to just get up and keep going as hard as you can. So tell me, what did you do that was so radical? What got their attention?
I think the fact that I actually left Australia, I have a thriving training company over there, and I had a thriving speaking business, as you did, and you would know what that's like. Yeah. I was a very big fish in a very small pond, and I thought, hang it.
I'll just go
at the peak of my career, why don't I just pack up the kids and go to a country where I know no one, have no business contacts, and start again?
And it'll be fine.
That good old Aussie positive spirit.
So the process that you went through to pack up and come over here was one of the things that caught the judge's attention, because it was just a bold move.
A totally bold move, yes.
And I'm assuming some of the things that you've done in business before you got to the United States were also quite radical. If this is the way you typically approach business, what do you do that's kind of unusual in a day-to-day environment in your business that you think is a little bit off the wall?
I think for us, because we're a training or an enterprise training company, so we train small businesses in people skills like selling skills, management, all that sort of stuff. And I think the thing that I've always done is I've always looked at what the customer wanted, or what the consumer wanted, or what our clients wanted, and then gave it to them. And so I pioneered, for 23 years ago, I started my business, and I actually worked for a Japanese training company for a short while, where they were very much into doing personal growth for executives. And so I implemented personal growth training into business skills training, which sort of freaked people out a bit, because
it's unusual.
Well, you don't bring the two, and especially in this country, you leave your personal and your business separate. Yep. And my thing was, well, if you don't fix the human being, you can forget about the work being, People just we don't realise that the two are entwined.
Right. So what you did was say flipped it on its head a little bit, and in turn flipped the industry on its head, and that was a radical approach to the way your industry or your training business or training category worked.
Absolutely. And we're dynamic. Our training's like, yay, and we get out there and we create energy. And, we're not that, like, get out there and be happy and motivated.
Right. So they're in a classroom, with the whiteboards and the flip charts doing their thing, saying, here's how you do it.
Yeah. We say, this is how you do it.
So what's the most radical thing you had to do of late then? Apart from moving to the United States. I mean, I know what that feels like. I've done that myself and I know how challenging that is. But in business, over the last few years, we've all been through some changing things. What's the most radical thing that you've had to do to just get ahead?
I think actually just creating more product. I think, and it's not something that I've ever done. And the guys and I were talking before that, even coming on this show, my heart was pounding. I was up all night because it's not what I normally do. And I think in small business, what we do, we get stuck in what we always do.
It's comfortable.
It's comfortable. Yeah. And then we unconsciously sabotage new adventures because our heart's pounding so much. So, I think that's probably one of the most radical things I've done.
Now, you've got a bit of an unusual way that you approach a thought process in business, and you've been trying to explain this to me over the last few months. Give me the short version of how you checkerboard stuff. I call it checkerboard. You've got this little post-it notes thing you do. And
I'll have to get the boys to grab my board.
Well, just show me your little... There you go.
So this is just actually... And I do this. This is actually my thought process for the show.
Right.
So I'd worked out what we were going to, like as far as what I would love to get across, and then I just post-it note it. So the great thing about post-it notes, and because we're so technology driven, aren't we?
Yeah.
So what I do is I put my thought process onto these. I use big blackboards. You can see it. Guess what else you can do? You can move it.
Yeah, right, okay.
And so with a computer, you can't move it. You can't cut and paste and where is it? And if you walk into an office and have these big, here it is, woo, go Curtis.
So for the radio audience, Terry's got this big board with post-it notes all over it with bits of notes and things on it, and that's her way to try and get rid of all the clutter in her head and organise the thoughts.
Yeah, and it's there, and you actually get motivated by it.
Fantastic. So, mate, the Radical Entrepreneur of the Year award, I'm assuming you're going to continue to be radical.
Always.
And help other entrepreneurs be radical in your training business.
Always. Love it.
Thanks for dropping in. Terry Hawkins from People in Progress Global, isn't it?
That's right.
And terryhawkins.com, the Radical Entrepreneur of the Year for 2012. Fellow Australian making it here in the United States. Always good to see.
Oh, Troy, I love hanging out with you. You're so amazing.
Big B Show, bigbshow.com. After the break, it's the tax man. He's in with his last lot of top tips for the year. It's only a few days to go. Was it 7 days to go, I think, or 6 days to go before the year's out? Tax man's on his way. Big B Show, bigbshow.com. Stick around.